Nintendo is now banning you for having friends, and one of the coolest games of the generation has been canceled. So we're starting off hot today. Good morning, Mario, and good morning, Switch fans. Probably should just say good day, Mario, but does not have as good of a ring to it, and neither does today's news. It kind of qualifies in the we don't want it, but we need to know about it type news, and that's Nintendo exacting revenge on friends, and one of the coolest games sequel has been canceled. What's going on, everybody? It's Zach from SwitchForce. Give me your thoughts in the comments down below. I think you're going to have a lot of them today. Let's start with the cancellation. New IP is tough. Nintendo tried it at the start of the Switch era with ARMS, and I think they made a valiant effort. They weren't able to gain the traction, or really the game length, that players wanted or that Nintendo hoped for, and therefore it kind of just sputtered out. Nintendo hasn't really tried anything brand new since, and as we're about to enter a new generation, maybe not. It's a good time to try new, but it's also a good time to just rely on fan favorites. Now, Ubisoft has been another company that has supported Switch with some pretty cool new IP. Mario plus Rabbids was fantastic, although Ubisoft wasn't happy with the performance of the second game. It over-delivered but underperformed. A great game that did not sell great, and Yves Guillemot, the CEO of Ubisoft, has said, we should have waited for Switch 2. Now Ubisoft is canceling another new IP. Immortals Fenyx Rising was one of the coolest open world games we got on Nintendo Switch. And it was awesome because it was released day and date, it looked and played great on Switch, and it was kind of like the Breath of the Wild holdover as we waited for the inevitable eventual Tears of the Kingdom. Immortals Fenyx Rising was a really fun game, and it took a lot of what Ubisoft has been doing for years and just mixed it a little bit. It just DJ scratched it into a slightly different field where it scratched an itch of hey, this game works. And it had the highest community sentiment of any Ubisoft game. Players were overboard with enthusiasm for this game because it was something new. It wasn't just another AC, Assassin's Creed, another Far Cry, FC, all these C's out there, but this one stood out in the sea of open world games. It sold pretty well and it was great on Switch, but now Immortals Fenyx Rising, the sequel, has been canceled. They cite the reason as perceived challenges around establishing the IP. Basically, that means we don't think that this new IP and new character and new world can compete with all the already established worlds. That is a bummer and a really hard position that we are put in with games. Because yes, the most anticipated and exciting games are sequels. Spider-Man 2. Elden Ring is even kind of a sequel. Mario Bros. Wonder is definitely a sequel of sorts. We're pumped for Tears of the Kingdom. We were, we are, we will be. That's a sequel. New IP is tough to establish, and as somebody that's working on a Brethren Immortals game, Immortals of Avium, yeah, it's tricky to get people to gain awareness and get invested in your brand when it's new and you don't have 4, 5, 6, 10, 20, 30 years of history to rely on. If you're Final Fantasy 16, you're yo, we've done 15 mainline games and probably 50 spin-offs. Play us. You know you like it. But when you're Immortals Fenyx Rising, it takes a groundswell of community to say, this is good, let's lift it up. And they did, and yet it's still getting canceled. I think this is a bad sign for where we are in terms of supporting new IP. I think we have some of our favorite franchises that won't go away. But remember, at one point they were new franchises, and even though we're over the moon with new sequels and new entries and 4K visuals for some of our favorite characters, it's always fun to get new favorite characters. You got to start somewhere though, and you have to stay committed. And I wish Ubisoft would have found the way to stay committed to Immortals Fenyx Rising. Unfortunately, it will not be continuing. It's over. And that one game was a nice blip on Switch where we got something day and date as the other consoles. And now both Mario plus Rabbids and Immortals Fenyx Rising, Ubisoft's two new creative, really cool ideas, are both being viewed poorly by Ubisoft themselves. That sucks. This next one, bit of a, alright, it's a bit of a worry. So Nintendo has released new guidelines on what can get you banned. And this is important to pay attention to because you do not want your Nintendo account banned. Remember, Nintendo accounts are what store all of your data. Meaning if you have a lot of digital games, your Nintendo account is where they're at. If you don't have the cart, your games exist in your Nintendo account. And Nintendo has now listed other additional infractions and clarified what will get your account banned. There's one on here that has me very, very concerned. What's not banned nor canceled is the best memory card for Nintendo Switch. The Lexar Play card comes up to 1 terabyte, which is so much storage. You can have it all. These are the fastest, best, safest memory cards. They get a SwitchForce seal of approval. Fantastic people over there. They're so good at customer service. And every time you click the link in the description down below, even just to check it out, take a peek, look, it helps support the channel. But I'm telling you, if you need a memory card, this is the one to get. And they are running some pretty great sales lately. Like, these things are always going for a good price. Some of them are quite obvious, like, hey, selling unusable download codes or download codes acquired through unauthorized or illegal means. Yeah, we shouldn't be selling false, fake, scam download codes. Using third-party credit card information, PayPal account information to purchase products, like if you're stealing someone's bank or PayPal, yeah, bad. Transferring Nintendo account information to a third party as part of an unauthorized financial transaction, yeah, don't go selling your Nintendo account. The direct sale or purchase of a Nintendo account that has purchased digital games. The direct sale or purchase of products by using a third party's Nintendo account from time to time. Transferring Nintendo account information to a third party for the purpose of modifying save data, playing on one's behalf and other requests. And the kicker for me, the final one that I take issue with, sharing paid software with others through the use of the same Nintendo account. Basically, if you have friends and you've shared games, Nintendo could come after you. I'm not going to call anyone out. We don't even have to raise our hands. But just think about it. Have you ever shared a game with someone on Nintendo Switch? To me, one of the cool parts of Nintendo Switch in this era, as compared to Nintendo's past era, is that they made the console far more welcoming, far more open, and far more inviting from an online region-free space. The console is region-free. I can buy a Japanese game and play it on my American Switch. I can buy a European Switch and download something from the American eShop. I can have my US Switch and visit the Australian eShop to grab a game early. It's also very simple to share accounts with your friends or family. And I'm not endorsing this. I'm not saying you should do it, but I'm just saying it's very easy to do. And it's something that allows players, friends, to share games, and you can't be like logged in at the same time, but you can share games, try them out. Maybe it even leads to more purchases. If you and I are sharing something like, I don't know, Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, and you're like, dude, Zach, I love this game, I gotta get it so we don't have to fight over who gets to play it, that's a bonus. But now sharing software with others through the use of the same Nintendo account is apparently a bannable offense. Watch out, friends. If you thought friend codes were the only obstacle Nintendo could throw in your path from playing with the people you love, now they've added another. Now, this is not the first for Nintendo, because in fact, they did something similar and even more overboard with an individual game a few years back. Animal Crossing New Horizons ring a bell? Now, I'm not talking about Tom Nook's Bell's currency. I'm talking about the bell that said, hey, you can only have one island per Switch. This was a more overt way of doing this sort of stop of sharing of software. You couldn't have the same Animal Crossing games support multiple players on the same Switch, even if they had different accounts or different profiles. No, one Switch, one island. That was incredibly aggressive and basically blocked off a cartridge to say, this cartridge is for you, and you can't even share and have like a different save file. Now, combining these two together, we could paint a dangerous future where Nintendo really does want to limit things. And I wouldn't be surprised if there aren't people on the back end or even on the executive level who are trying to figure out ways to lock down digital rights and digital sales like this so that every person does need to buy it. Imagine a future where instead of you having a Mario RPG save file and me having an RPG save file and our little sister having a Mario RPG save file, we need 3 copies of the game. That would suck. I remember some old games being like that, like way back in the day, but it's not something we should be dealing with in 2023, and yet issues like Animal Crossing single island, single Switch, and this sharing of games being bannable, it's leading us down that potentially dangerous path where we're not able to share or play anything with anyone. It's just going to be for you, even though technically it's not really yours since it's digital. It's hard to blame them because in a digital era, it seems like more and more companies are going to be putting up different thresholds and different guards to protect themselves from losing out on sales. This was a huge debacle back with PlayStation 3 and a little bit of PlayStation 4, where account sharing and selling was done on a large scale. I remember you could buy accounts on eBay with games, and they squashed that. And I'm fully on board with not allowing the sale or purchase of Nintendo accounts, because that seems like a very, very dark path to dip down into. But sharing your account with someone, even if they're in the same house, what if you're sharing your account with your significant other, or with your brother, or with your grandparents, or with your dog? Is that also not allowed? Because they're saying sharing paid software with others through the use of the same Nintendo account is bannable. Look, let's get really, really granular here. If I have you play my Switch, I'm technically sharing paid software through the use of the same Nintendo account. But I think Nintendo more specifically means they don't want you having two Switches sharing the same Nintendo account. Basically, if I go log into your Nintendo Switch and I also log into mine, they're saying, cut the cake, you just stole money from us. Effectively, they're comparing you sharing games as losing out on sales, and therefore Nintendo could ban you for this. Bans are usually permanent, they're usually very hard to remove, and they're something that we should be very, very careful of. So if you out there are selling illicit codes, or buying illicit accounts, or transferring information, using people's PayPal that you shouldn't be, or sharing games with your friends on the same Nintendo account, beware. Nintendo has now made it publicly known that they can ban you, that they can go after you, and that they can shut down your Switch fun. You thought Super Mario Bros. Wonder and Nintendo were all about the joy this season? There's a little bit that they're not. They definitely want to make sure that you and me and everyone else buy Mario Bros. Wonder separately. So let me know what you think of all this. Do you think it's a bit overboard for Nintendo to include this sharing games with friends as a bannable offense? Or do you think it's just something totally fair and fine, that they're protecting their company, they're protecting their sales, and they want to Scrooge McDuck it up forevermore? Let me know your take in the comments down below, everybody. Thanks so much for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay happy, stay positive out there. Until next time, SwitchForce out.